So when this cycle becomes balanced is when I think a majority of that barrier is going to drop, right? When you become consciously open. So why the channeled song here, my beautiful angels? To illuminate that level of devotion. Look at beyond the veil, right? Thanks for backing me up. Enlightenment, mystery revealed of the programming, of the fear. And I broke it open to love, right? But you know what I'm getting from this energy here? So no matter where you stand in this energy of devotion, because it's like this devotion energy. And it's funny because over the past few months, this is not the first time I've been channeling an energy of devotion here. So this feels really relevant, I guess, prevalent. So whoever is, kind of coming across these messages, devotion is... They're telling me unconditional, okay? And it's so funny because I'm in this book series and me and my cousin were chatting about it because it's like a whole world, right? It's like this whole world that you go into. And it's Zodiac Academy for anyone who's interested or, it has already read that series and the amazingness of it. But there's a character in there and he is literally unconditionally devoted to one of the other characters. And it's this type of devotion that it's not usually seen anymore in today's world, right? But through that imagery, it's like that feels really relevant. Like it's bringing me back to those characters in this energy because this level of devotion, hopelessly devoted, an intuitive, it's an intuitive thing. Like it just feels right. Like I just can't help but be devoted to this person, to doing right, to being better, to breaking down my walls, to being who I need to be with them, for them, however that is, right? To allow like your guys' selves to expand, right? To explore new territory, to step out of the comfort zone, right? To break down the fears of letting love in again, or you know believing beyond the veil, believing, like feeling, knowing what you are sensing even if you can't see it. And it's funny because that was a major lesson for me some time ago. And what my guides and God had shown me in that way, because we question our intuition a lot, right? And our intuition is that quiet knowing. The anxiety and the overthinking and the fear is what creates the doubt, because we naturally will have that doubt, right? We naturally have that doubt until you fully know, right? Until you trust that knowing within. You're The karmic cycle is ultimately holding on to the destruction, the chaos, the emotional upheaval. That's the karma alone. Is the indecision, is the stagnancy, the stalemate, is the crossroad. It's the crossroad. That is the karmic cycle. Okay? Because the karmic cycle is emotionally keeping you stuck from offering your heart. Can you give me more like guidance on how somebody can better trust their intuition? They're giving me heartbreak, sadness. For many of you guys, you already do trust your intuition, which is kind of like feeling like contradicting here, but they don't want to talk to you about helping you learn to trust your intuition. They want you to recognize where you're sitting in heartbreak, where you're letting the fear live in the heartbreak. It, the intuition is here because you need to open up to trusting the feelings that you have, but then also discerning, illuminating when it's coming from this, not when it's coming from the intuition, when it's coming from the heartbreak and the pain, right? Pain fades, but love teaches. This situation is teaching you how to love again, to open yourself up, 555, to love again. But first, this has to fade, right? The karmic cycle is the emotional upheaval, which is stopping you from opening yourself up to seeing beyond, to living through the feeling, through trusting the intuition. Because powerful AF. But it's manipulating, right? It's manipulating the energy. That was weird. Like, it felt like a card fell. Yeah, like, trapped, right? Trapped. They're trying to liberate you from that. Oh, see, something did fall. The Three of Cups. A 3-3 showing up. Let me see what this. It's hopelessly devoted to this karmic cycle. To the karmic cycle. Who's going to resonate here is you continue to liberate yourself from the inner knowing. And you keep walking straight back into the cycle of emotional upheaval, afraid to open the heart. And then the game of the sun is yes, yes. They're illuminating that for you. And they just gave me this energy to pretend that it's me, okay? So, and that's in a way where they want me to channel that, because when I'm doing my own, like, shadow work, like, I go deep, okay? So prepare. But they're most likely maybe talking to a masculine, okay? And or a feminine who is in a lot of deep heartbreak and separation and loss and grieving a heartbreak of masculine energy, right? Because, you know, many of us, we could sit there and say, well, I'm open to love and I'm ready for love, and that's all I want, and it's my, you know, deepest wish, right? I'm hopelessly devoted to being in love. But these things are so unconscious to us that we're not consciously walking around saying, I'm afraid to open back up. And many of us might say, well, I am not afraid to open up, because consciously you just long for that connection. But unconsciously, when the connection comes in, then there's a lot of trauma that comes up. There's a lot of triggering that comes to the surface, and a lot of turmoil that you end up in the connection because it's unhealed, right? So you're still gaining the connection, but all of the unconscious stuff comes to the surface at some point in the connection or not, right? So here, what I'm seeing is that there is a depth of a connection that has a barrier to it, because one or both parties continue to cycle in the emotional upheaval of the heartbreak, but they want me to channel it as if I'm going to do my own shadow work. So I'm going to go into part 3. If you feel so called to receive the depth of where we're going to go with this.